Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room. Well, we start by saying, hi, I'm Heather and I'm an actor.
Hi, my name is John Williams. I am a casting director. And today we have Josh Wiggins. He's an American actor. In 2014, Wiggins made his featured debut as the lead role of Jacob Wilson in the drama Hellion with Aaron Paul and Juliette Lewis, and directed by Kat Candler, who we've had on the show. And I actually helped cast the short for Hellion.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Starring
and she was in the short.
Starring the... No.
You weren't?
No.
I thought you were.
No.
Johnny was.
I was in Black Metal.
Black Metal, yes.
Starring the great Johnny Mars.
Yes.
In both of those things.
So the film premiered at Sundance Film Festival on January 17th, 2014, and released domestically on June 13th, 2014. His performance in the film was praised by several critics. In 2015, Wiggins starred as Justin Wincott in the adventure drama Max with Dejan Lacroix, Thomas Hayden Church, and Robbie Amell about Max, a dog starring in the titular role. The film was directed by Boaz Yankin and released domestically on June 26, 2015 by Warner Brothers Pictures. Also in 2015, Wiggins co-starred as Lewis in the action thriller film Lost in the Sun with Josh Duhamel. In 2017, he starred in the survival drama Walking Out and the drama movie The Bachelors, where he froze to death.
Oh,
Right. Wiggins next played the lead role of
spoiler
Frankie.
he just got right to the point, John.
You're wondering why he's mumbling. He's freezing. Wiggins next played the lead role for Frankie Winter in Keith Barron's coming-of-age story, Giant Little Ones. The film's critically acclaimed screenplay explored present-day complexities of sexual identity and was released in 2018 and 2019. Next up for Josh is Armored, American action thriller film directed by Justin Root and starring Sylvester Stallone. So there's a lot I have to ask you because I don't know how you got started. Like, there's the myth of the YouTube video, but like before that, like where did you?
What's the? Is that
That's
not
where
at the beginning?
Kat saw him for Hellion. Was a friend. Remember, she talked about it. She said,
nobody remembers because nobody knows. So, do we need to know? Let's start.
It was, well, you said video singular. It was videos.
Okay.
Video makes it sound like I did a video and it was like this huge hit. And
Yeah.
it was like, oh, this guy's gonna be a star.
Yeah.
But no,
So you grew up in Houston.
Yeah.
I'm from Houston.
mm-hmm.
Whereabouts?
Cypress, like suburbs, like Northwest.
Oh, so that's where stars are born.
Yeah, everyone knows
Yeah.
Cypress, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's all in the same.
So where you walk us through it?
Well, I grew up watching just YouTube channels that would always do these little comedy skits, like ones that, one was called like F&D Films, was like a big inspiration. They got like semi-popular, but just stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, that looks fun. So me and my friends just started making our own. We had like an old camera from like the 90s that was like really bad quality, but it was like whatever. So we just used that and then used like Windows Media Player or something like that to edit them. And it was just us, like 10-year-old kids, just making the dumbest, most absurd comedy skits, if you want to call it comedy, you've ever seen. And so we just kept doing it. And one of my friends who I did the videos with was in the short of Hellion.
Okay.
And he was always like kind of bouncing from one thing to another. He had this very like entrepreneurial spirit about him. So once they adapted that into the feature, he wasn't interested in acting anymore. And so they had seen the videos and asked if I wanted to audition for it.
He's now your manager.
It's just a natural progression.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I had I didn't want to like be an actor. I wanted to be in the industry. I always wanted to like direct at some point. But so I acted. We did like I think me and my mom did this scene from, it was some movie that was, I think, also at Sundance when Hellion was. I can't remember what it was called, but it did essentially a self-tape. And what's funny is that self-tape probably put more effort into that one than like any self-tape since, because it's like we literally like recreated the scene. It was like I wore like this white tank top with like dirt all over it. We got like all dressed up, and it was just like me and my mom doing this scene in our backyard because it was like
because you guys didn't know, right? You had no prior sort of touch to the industry or anyone to guide you. Yeah,
nothing at all.
But they asked you to put something on tape on purpose.
Yeah,
and then they give you the scene.
Yeah, which got sides. I think it was just one scene, and we just did it and ended up doing like 5 more auditions for Hellion. It was a lot. And just ended up getting it. So it really came out of nowhere. But
were all 5 of the auditions like you taping over and over again, or
no? The first one was the only
Arts and Labor, I think, right?
Yeah. That self-tape was the only one before actually going into a room. And
well played, Kat. That's how it goes. That's how you do it. Then you get them in the room. Then you meet them. Then you talk.
Well, it was
to
the big
them.
thing in Hellion was the chemistry between the kids.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. We did a few with me and a bunch of other kids. I did also one with me and who would play the little brother, which ended up being Deke. So yeah, there was a ton of chemistry reads, and there was one with Kat where she needed to see if I could like cry. Yeah, and that was like. I had no acting experience. I was like, how am I going to do this?
How old were you? Like 9, 11?
When we were auditioning, I was probably like 13.
Really?
Yeah. And it was probably the 3rd or 4th audition we did. I just remember, like, I knew that was what this audition was for, was to see if I could, like, take it to that level.
No pressure.
And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. I'd never. But we did it in the room, and Kat was, like, really upfront with me. She was like, I need just to know if you can do this. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's just do the scene. We'll see.
Already enough pressure, and then Kat says, I need you to do it now.
Yeah. And if you mess up, I'm gonna hit you. And it was, that's her.
That's so Kat.
Yeah, that's how she is. No, but she was obviously very sweet about it. But she was like, yeah, just being honest. Like
you gotta hit that note. This is the note.
Okay, so you're a 13-year-old boy who's never acted before, and you're doing this scene. What did you do?
I think what happened was. I didn't have any prep for now I've done it enough to where I can prep myself for those kind of scenes.
Yeah.
But then it was just like, I was just in the situation that I felt like I should not be in, just like some random kid from the suburbs.
Yeah.
And I think it was really like the anxiety that just like pushed it through.
Right.
Like being so nervous.
Yeah.
That like, because we did I think we did 2 or 3 takes before I actually like was able to like get it out.
Yeah.
And I remember like when it was happening, I had this weird like, out of body experience, not literally spiritually, but like this weird moment of like, I'm crying now, but I'm like really crying.
I know exactly
like,
what
my
you're
lips
talking
are quivering
about.
and I'm like, this is so strange. It's like such a strange feeling. But I was also like elated because like, oh, thank God. Like
I
it's off my
nailed the
chest.
note. Yeah.
Is that something you've experienced before too?
Oh yeah, for sure. I do when you're on stage, right? Like you're on stage, you're like, oh, there's my hand, there's my foot. And you're like, you're doing,
You're very aware of what you're doing. Sometimes.
Yeah. It's just weird. I don't know. You don't experience that?
No, I mean like of the crying, like not knowing how you're going to do it. Anxiety,
that pressure always was there.
Through.
Yeah. That's why I chose to do more comedy, because the pressure of like having to hit that note was always like, for you, it just seems like,
oh God, no.
How do I not hit
you
that
just
note?
turn it on?
Oh God, no. I'm complete opposite. Complete opposite.
She always gets called for like the heavy hitting stuff. Like that's like her calling card.
It is, but it's not my forte.
One would think.
One would think, but it's not. I feel that every time that like, how am I going to do that? And other girls can just like, I'm the person over here who's like, how do you do that? They just do. They just
They're like,
cry
like the left eye or the right eye.
Yeah, and they'll just like stare at the camera and just, and I'm like, no, I'm like the queen of ugly cry. Like it's just all this contorted
that's the real
and shit. You know what I mean? But like, and I can't. It's so hard for me.
I feel like you can always tell when it's like because there's that thing people do also where you can put that solution in your eye. And and you can it'll still turn out great. But like you can always tell when it's like. Real crying,
eyes are already watering.
Because like
they just blink and it falls down.
Or I remember when I remember being younger and being on a set, and a makeup lady came to me once and she was like, "Do you want me to blow the menthol in your eyes?" And I was like, "What's that?"
Yeah,
there's
a cheat code for this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
and then it got to the point by the end of the shoot where I was like, "More. Can I get some more of that stuff?" And she would blow this menthol in your eye, and it just didn't work for me. I mean, I'm like hardcore. I have to really feel it.
Yeah.
Which is what sucks.
Well, it's interesting for you because you don't have any formal training. You just kind of figured this whole thing out.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's cool. So you had this moment, and then you leave, and you're just like, ice cream. Let's go, Mom.
Yeah. It was great.
Pizza.
Well, it's funny because there was that, but then it's like, okay, now I have to do
Do
this
it
for real.
again and again and on the day.
That was like really, because then like the pressures are just 100 times more.
Well, not knowing how you got there.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, that was maybe a fluke, and then I got to show up and do it again.
Yeah.
And then how did it go on the day?
On the day, it ended up going great, but it was like, I think it's because, I mean, from like when we first got the day out of days, like I marked that scene.
Right.
Like in my brain, it was like every day
Was
leading
one day
up to that.
closer to that
Exactly.
day.
Yeah.
Oh
It was just like
God.
this dark cloud hanging up. I think I talked to Kat one of the days we were shooting, and I told her, I was like, I'm really nervous for that scene. And she was like, you're going to be fine. And so I was like, she seemed really confident that I was going to be able to do it. And so that helped.
Yeah.
But like, man, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to think of? Like my dog dying? But like, I literally, I think I was so, it was the same thing as when it happened in the audition. I think on the day I was so nervous. I was so focused, and to where like the whole day, like for that scene, like the pizza scene where like, it was like the big scene where I like had this huge crying fit, whatever. That was like always shot that entire day. So like that entire day was dedicated to that scene. So the whole day leading up to it, I was just kind of like to myself and like in my own
Were you
world.
trying to hold it inside, like keep it right there, or
Well, yeah. Well, the
because
funny
that becomes
thing is,
exhausting, right?
Yeah.
That will exhaust you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. But the funny thing is that I wasn't necessarily holding it in the whole time, but by the time we ended up shooting it, then I was like holding it in. And it was like, it wasn't like, oh, how am I going to reach this? It was like, how am I going to like
release
hold it in until I need
yeah.
to release? Because it was, and that was nice because I was, before they even said action, I was like, okay, I'm there. So like I can just let it out and it'll be fine.
So has that progressed into your sort of repertoire of tricks and tools to use now? I mean, is that how you kind of learn sort of like how to play your instrument?
I think so. Yeah. Like, I mean, not that there's still scenes that, you know, you do and you're like, God, I didn't go like as far as I wish I could have. Like that still happens. And it's just one of those things where like, to a certain extent it's going to happen or it's not.
It's so persnickety, this instrument, right?
I know.
It's not like a piano or a guitar.
Yeah.
But you can kind of just rely on the thing.
Yeah. It's just this intangible that like,
It's so intangible.
You can't measure. But I do have my own little like, I've gotten a lot better over the years at like kind of self-manipulating my emotion to like get to that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from it. But that first time doing it, I mean, it's always nerve-wracking whenever anytime I read a script that I get, it's the same thing. I'm like marking it in my brain, like, okay, like don't fuck that.
So it's funny because like Lost in the Sun was almost holding that the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was that. So we cast Lost in the Sun, and the main scene in the room with you and Josh, which was great. You had Josh to work with, Josh Duhamel, and the main one was the truck scene when the door was locked. I think that was the main one Trey was worried about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, mine was the one, again, spoilers, but at the end, whenever
You haven't seen Lost in the Sun yet.
Yeah. But it was at the end.
Don't listen.
Yeah, everyone turn it off. The like when like kind of when Josh's character like owns up to it and like turns himself in, it was like right like
Near
basically at the end.
Yeah.
That was the one I was really
Really?
about.
Yeah.
That was like the big one for me. But which one? When I was in the truck is
You're in the truck and it was locked. I remember running that one a lot, and because it was you against a few other people, and I remember like Trey was worried about a couple of notes to hit, and you had a naturalness and a calmness about you, and you do when you act. There's like this naturalness and this real calmness about you that you don't see you working really hard at all, if at all. And I think that's what Trey and Clay, the producer, both sort of like, it ultimately was like, went with you because of that. And I think the dynamic between you and Josh, just the relationship that you guys created, I think everybody else felt a little forced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and your performance felt effortless.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the funny thing with like those chemistry reads. It's just like you can't really pretend it.
Yeah,
You can't. It's just kind of the chemistry's either there or it's not. But yeah, I remember because then we did like some improv that audition.
a lot.
Right?
We did a lot.
I remember that was the first time I'd done that in an audition and I was like so nervous because I was like, I had taken like improv classes as a kid, like for fun. So I kind of had a little bit, but like doing it in a purely dramatic way, because it was all just goofy comedy, but doing it just pure drama was
Which there is no school for drama improv, right?
No, but it's so different, right?
Yeah.
I always feel so much pressure around improv comedy is totally different.
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I don't know what to do next, and it's got to be funny.
Yeah.
Improv drama, I just feel like, oh, great, let's do
I
that.
can let it out. Yeah.
Like, it's just whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah. That's interesting. Mine, so you feel more nervous doing improv comedy than you do.
Yes,
Interesting.
absolutely.
So I'd be the opposite. Maybe that's because
Really?
I did those like classes and it was all, because I feel like improv, if you mess up, it's like kind of a part of the joke,
right.
you know? So you can kind of roll with it. But if it's like
Right.
improv drama, it's like,
It's not funny.
yes, it's not
But
funny.
It's not funny.
It's not supposed to be
I
funny.
know. I know, but if you mess up then it's just not.
But the funniness, like it takes the pressure off a little bit.
or if it is funny, I guess drama is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, you're screwed.
But but in drama, there's no timing, there's no rhythm,
Right, yeah.
right? There's no
That's true.
expectancy of a punchline
Yeah.
of anything that's supposed to happen, other than people are upset
Yeah.
in some way. Something's not going right, and so if it's not going right, then it's like, yeah, you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you guys did do a lot of improv. That was
Mhm.
important to Trey. And it was great having Josh there. Like that was pretty awesome that he would show up and he was really invested in that role and in that movie.
Yeah, he was great. That movie.
It was great. That movie's great.
Yeah,
That movie is
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I really
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so at that point too, you felt pretty like comfortable and in the room, and you felt pretty well rehearsed. And that was just right after Hellion, wasn't it? Or did you do Max before? I think you did.
Yeah, it was after Hellion.
It was after Hellion,
Boston
yeah.
Zone was
And
my
then you went to
second.
Max after
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and you felt like you were, considering no classes still, right? You still haven't taken any classes or you've learned on the job.
No, yeah, I haven't taken.
Yeah. Yeah. And you seem to have this this way about you so far that you just seem to be trusting. Like
It's very trusting.
yeah. Yeah.
In the simplicity of what you're doing, in the just being, which is it's a hard thing for an actor, especially an actor who starts from training, to just trust the stillness and the being, that what you are is enough for the camera to see and for the people to feel, that you don't have to do so much.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like just your being and your presence is giving the message of what needs to be heard. And you seem to continuously trust that.
Mm.
And that's what's so good, is because most of the time people in life are not, it's what he's talking about, forced. It's, when someone is feeling something, they're actually trying not to feel it. Right. So
Right.
in that moment in the truck or whatever you're talking
Yeah, yeah.
about, the other people were like doing too much because they're trying to relay that message.
Yeah.
And actually, if someone is in a real heightened state of, that kind of thing, they're trying not to cry. They're trying not to lose it.
Right.
They're trying not to feel the intensity of that thing. And so you have a natural way of doing that or feeling that enough and allowing yourself to trust yourself that it's enough and that it's getting through.
That was for sure the tangible in the room that Trey latched onto, was that.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because like I've definitely had those moments of trying to do too much.
Yeah.
Like I was doing in a scene in Giant Little Ones, we were doing a scene, and it wasn't even meant to be this hugely emotional scene, but just kind of like ended up like tears came out, and then Keith, the director, was like, "Oh, like try and do that again." I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "We did a take," and he was like, "Okay, maybe not, because now it looks like you're trying to cry." And I was like,
Right.
damn it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the worst. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it can definitely happen. But that's why it's like, because you've done a lot of training, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how do you? Because the reason I'm afraid to like go into classes and stuff is because sometimes people can be like overtaught
Yeah.
sometimes, to where like you're saying, it's like they're doing things like too deliberately, and you can obviously like balance that out, and I'm sure it would help a lot. But like, are you mentally trying to like balance the technique versus the like?
I am
same
now, because
Yeah.
I'm a weird case, because I came from you. Like, I never had any.
Right.
So I started I just did.
Right.
And then after high school, I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that was like my first ever classes and like training.
Yeah.
And I think I felt like after that, I was kind of like in this headspace where I sort of felt like I had kind of ruined something because I was overthinking everything and I wished I had just sort of stuck to my instinct. And then I was sort of stuck in these two worlds where now I kind of realize there is a space of when you're working where I need to have access to certain tools.
Yeah.
Because not every job in every situation is going to allow for or call on the free artistic space of just my instinct. And some things I am going to need to be able to quickly reach for some tool or trick or thing, you know?
Well, especially if you get into like the day player stuff or you get into the stuff that's like you only got 3 lines you got to nail, right?
Yeah.
And you got to walk in there.
It's like more pressure than being a lead.
Yeah. Or commercial or, you know, whatever. And then other times I like where I came from to be able to have the wisdom to know when to ditch all that. And, or I at least have to try to so desperately be able to stay in touch with that and be able to let all that go and stay true to my artistic heart and soul so that I can still play in that space and allow myself to say, fuck all that. That is not what is going to get you to real creative choices and like real interesting choices, because that can keep you choosing the same crap over and over again and not playing. And so you kind of have to find this balance and know like what job you're on.
Yeah.
Do you know
I feel
what I
like I need more, like you're saying, like tools in my work to like kind of find that, because it's all just like, I don't know, again, no training. It's just kind of like instinctual, which is great. But like at the same time, if I'm not getting a scene right, I kind of need to know why that is and have the tools to like figure that out. And I feel like that would, classes and stuff would help with that.
Well,
Right, depending on the class and the teacher. I mean, sometimes they, you know, it's like if you know how to juggle, it's trying to like think about when you're juggling, right? And you break it down, and the person breaks it down wrong, and then it could give you a really, and you think you're doing good because you show up to class and they're sitting there giving you feedback, so you believe that you're in the right place with the right person, right? And you're accomplishing the right things, but in reality, it backfires.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean,
and there was a lot of time when I found myself, you know, using my drive or my nerves or anxiety as my only tool in that moment to get the performance. You know, it was like I was in my head of like, okay, you know, of like, hey, I'm on set with Sylvester Stallone. Here we go. Let's fucking nail it. You know, and it was like,
he's gonna love me.
That it was not even like he's gonna love me, but like, let's go. I'm where I want to be. This is what I'm doing. We're doing it. We're gonna fucking nail this right now. Let's go. And it was like that was my power. That was my gasoline.
That's good. I need that self.
Do you know what I mean? It was like that was my gasoline that was driving the whole thing. And then at some point, you know, it's like that's not the real gasoline, and that's not the thing that's gonna drive you every time, take after take. And then when that's all the gasoline that you have because you don't have any of the actual training, then it can, you know, then you can be like on the side of the road going like, ah.
Yeah.
So I think some good solid technique is a good thing to have, because at the end of the day, what I have learned is that when I show up to a thing, the best thing I can do is make sure that just me and my instrument is the most affectable that it can be for whatever that means to me. So before I get to set, you know, the music that I need, the mood that I need, the whatever space I need to be in, whether that's a good breakfast or a stretch or whatever it's going to take to make me feel the best that I can feel. However, I need to be the most adaptable so that I'm affectable by whatever the environment is. So that if it's going to be my director talking to me, whether it's going to be the environment is pissing me off and I can use that in the scene to affect me, or whether it's going to be you're affecting me today, I'm going to use you. Whatever it's going to be, I need to be affectable. then I feel like I can do it. Because if it's like, that's going to make me cry over there, then I can use that to let it get into me. But if I can't let anything into me because I'm like, or I'm not affectable, then I won't be able to use it. I can stand there and think about my dog all day. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. You can't just stand there and be like, okay, now the scene's starting. I'm going to think about my dog dying. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. I planned that. I'm going to use that on the day. That's not what's going to do it. It's like, the instrument has to be free and open, and the instrument is me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing I've learned that's the best that you can take with you every time.
Well, that's the biggest thing that I wasn't expecting when I first started acting was how dependent I was on the people I was acting with.
Oh,
like how much of their energy you pick up off of. And those scenes of like those, scenes that we were talking about, like, I don't like, if it weren't for like Aaron being such a good actor in Hellion, or like working with like whether it's Taylor Hickson and like Giant Little Ones, or like Darren May, like just working with these actors who are so talented that you can feed off their energy to where it's like, oh, I'm not even like forcing anything out. It's just their performance is bringing this out of me. It's like, that was the like biggest surprise that I had when I started acting.
Because acting is reacting.
Yeah.
It truly is. And I'm still so astounded at the times that you will be asked, even as a huge star, and they will be doing it, and you will be astounded that they are doing it and that it is happening. You will be acting to the round lens thing and a piece of tape in a huge moment.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio is crying on screen and you're moved, and he is talking to the frame and a piece of tape. And it's like, why? But it's part of this. It's part of the skill. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like most people, God willing, try so hard not to have that be the case. The other actor, if they're in all ways possible, awesome, are standing just behind that to work with you.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're not, or they can't, or they won't, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just part of the craft.
Well, even just for an eye line of a regular scene, having that just looking at a piece of tape is so.
Yeah.
I never got totally comfortable with that.
You won't. It's not normal. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Because someone else is reading usually, right? Or they're reading off tape or reading off camera, and then you're having to recreate. It's like an audition kind of.
Yeah.
You have to recreate their performance in your head.
Yeah.
Did you have to audition a lot, or are you still?
I still audition all the time. There's a couple like Walking Out did with Matt Bomer, Alex Andrew Smith. They're amazing too. Didn't have to audition for that one. There's only been a couple where Giant Little Ones I didn't have to audition, but most everything else is still.
So when did you decide to go to LA?
I went in 2020, which was a good time to go.
That's a fun time to go.
There was like a flu going around at the time.
There's
or
a
something.
weird flu.
I was like, it's just flu
What's
season.
this LA traffic everyone talks about? There's no one out.
No one here.
It was the worst possible time because it was. I remember texting my reps and I was like, "Is it like? Do you think it's like worse?" Because I was at a point in my life where it made sense to like make the move because they'd been trying to get me to go up there forever. So I was like, all right, everything in my life except for what was happening in the world, right? But like in my personal life, it made sense. So I was like, oh, I'll stay there. I'll like power through until it gets back to normal. And it, stuff started to reopen when I was there. But for auditioning, I feel like it never went back to like, it's all just self tapes still. Yeah. And so I was like, I had a great time out there and I loved it. But I was like, there's no reason for me to be out here right now because it's just self tapes.
You weren't doing meetings. Yeah. You weren't doing any kind of stuff and going in and doing stuff.
I guess you wouldn't even be doing any like generals or anything.
Yeah.
You're not gonna like go shake anyone's hand.
I mean, maybe
the
gym
TV stuff. Yeah.
You were going to the gym.
Yeah, I was going to Runyon Canyon, and that was about it. That was my work schedule.
And then were you doing self tapes at home, or were you going in somewhere to do them?
For what?
Self tapes? Are you doing?
Oh, just all at home.
All at home.
Yeah.
How do you like that process?
I've gotten so comfortable with it now that like I can do it with. I mean, I don't even know how many. So I can do them either with someone in my family will read off screen for me, just like on FaceTime or either in the room, or like I'll just record the opposite lines on like a recorder and just like start and pause, and I could just do it. So like it's whatever at this point. But at first it was odd.
Yeah,
it was odd too doing it with family because it was like there's like two members of my family where I've done it with enough to where I'm like, I don't even have to think about it. But like, if I'm doing a self-tape with someone, like a new person, I'm always like, oh, like there's anxiety there because I'm like, I don't want to look bad.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, I could do this. I promise. I just,
Yeah.
So there's always, it's about like comfortability and stuff. But
yeah, sometimes I read with my mom.
yeah.
And I'm still like that. I get nervous.
A bad reader can destroy a tape for sure when you're watching.
I've done some with some friends who I will not name, but I would like send in the tape and they're like, hey, can you get a new reader?
Oh, no,
like,
really?
Yeah. It's definitely happened.
Or the other is, hey, who is reading?
Yeah.
Which has happened as well.
Yeah.
So you come back and you're still doing self tapes and you're doing, I guess, Zoom callbacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's that going?
It's good. I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
The Zoom stuff. It's still, obviously like not nearly as good as being in a room.
Awkward.
Yeah. And especially with like the connection delay and it's just
right? And then when it's over, it's just like, and you're just like in your room by yourself, and it's so obvious. It's like a vacuum.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like,
pure
I can
silence.
see that after like screaming and yelling and crying, and then you're like alone. Like, okay, well, guess I'll go do the dishes.
Yeah, totally.
Nah, the Zoom. I think it's like auditions in general. Auditions are always just suck. They just suck. But the Zoom also makes it suck. But I feel like everyone is aware that it kind of sucks.
Right,
And like most people, like casting directors that I've been with, except for John, obviously, because he's a jerk. But everyone else, now everyone makes a concerted effort to make sure you're comfortable.
That's true.
In my experience, I've had a couple bad experiences, but very little. It's like everyone kind of gets that, especially like on Zoom. It's like
Not some directors. Some directors like, I want both of them together, and like I want them looking at each other, acting off each other, which has to be the weirdest, right?
Yeah.
You're like
I haven't
looking.
actually done that.
Yeah, we've had to do it, and you're looking at the wall, right? And you're trying, and you're like, no, moving your eyes down. Okay, that's where they're at. And it's
wait. Say it again.
They'll put two people next
They
to
will
each other,
frame them
together,
in their own
and have them act off of each other in the Zoom.
in their own window, their own Zoom windows.
Oh.
And that's weird.
Do you know what
That
I
is
mean? Like
weird,
you're
yeah.
alone in your house and they're alone in their house,
Yeah.
and they want you to turn and make it look like you're facing each other, talking to each other.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I've never.
I
did
think
that.
I would refuse.
It's very weird. He'd refuse?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. That's
that is bizarre.
I'm calling the union. That's above and beyond.
Because it's weird enough doing it, like looking at the person on the Zoom, which is good. It's better than nothing, but like it's still not.
Yeah.
You're both kind of like
The whole time I'm like, am I looking at you? Am I,
I know,
looking at
'cause you're
the
not making
hole
eye
on the
contact.
camera? Am I looking at the where the fuck am I looking?
yeah.
Like, am I looking at myself? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There's too many things.
Yeah. So you seem to have had a pretty steady career, and you said your team. Are you pretty mindful, or like of the trajectory that you're trying to do? Or are you just out there just trying to get work? Are you guys? Is there strategy?
I mean, it depends. I think at the beginning of my career, I was getting work pretty steadily, and then there's kind of been like ups and downs, just kind of the nature of the industry. So like I'm picky when I can afford to be picky.
Yeah.
But like at a certain point, like sometimes it's just you just gotta like go out for everything.
Everything.
So it's like yeah.
And then do you feel like the right thing sticks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean I'm lucky enough to where I've been pretty proud of like pretty much everything I've been in. I've never had to do something where it was just like, oh my God, this is gonna like I'm just gonna say the lines and just get out.
Yeah.
Like I've been pretty lucky in that sense. And I'd love to keep it that way, but so there's gonna be a point where you just gotta.
Well, what's this next one that's coming?
Yeah, this is Armored. This is as you said, Stallone is in it. I haven't practiced my logline pitch, but this is gonna sound a little sloppy, but it's basically me and Jason Patrick, who plays my dad. We drive like those Loomis trucks, the armored car trucks with the money in it, and then Stallone ends up robbing it. And so it's us just trying to like survive in the back of this armored truck, basically. And
That's
it's very
fun.
much like
he robs it. He like kidnaps y'all and takes the
he's
truck
trying to
and
like he like
throws you all in the back.
sabotages the truck. Well, we're in the back of the truck that we drive, and he's trying to like get in. You know what I mean? So it's very much like we're in the same room, just trying to like do whatever we can to get out of the situation. But it's really about like it's really the father-son aspect of it that's like the heart of the movie. It's
cool.
like it's like them being in the situation, they're kind of not estranged, but they don't have the strained relationship, and so it's them trying to like in the background of this insane situation, like a father and son trying to like reconnect.
Then, yeah.
Basically,
That's cool.
How much did you like the action genre? Working in the action genre.
That's a good question because I had never done anything remotely
that's what this is
like that.
different.
So it was like,
Isn't it fun?
yeah. There was only like I got to shoot prop guns in like one scene, which was fun, but like everything else was pretty much just like they had stunt doubles do most of the stuff. We, just being in like an overturned truck, even that just experience was kind of interesting. Trying to like, so there's stuff like that, but yeah, nothing.
There's a lot
big
of
budget action. Everyone else did. Someone else did it.
No, there's a lot of
Come to the dark side of like low budget action.
I wish I could.
Then it's fun.
There's a lot of heavy breathing, acting, and pain.
Yeah. Oh my!
I gotta get out.
The entire movie.
It's
That's me.
Yeah.
Just like, and whenever I like breathe a lot, I get like really lightheaded.
Yeah.
Like even in the
no.
audition,
Yeah.
like when I self tape for it, there's a scene where like I'm hurt and I'm like trying to talk, and even like I was just doing it with my brother at the time, and I had to be like, okay, give me like 5 minutes because I was literally about to pass out.
hyperventilating.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that, a lot of heavy breathing, a lot of pain.
And
noises.
Jason and Sylvester, cool guys.
Yeah, they were great to work with.
I'm glad to see Jason back on the scene.
Jason
I know.
Patrick.
Yeah, he's
can
coming
we
back.
say from my generation?
Yeah, he's a great
He was
actor,
a
man.
pretty-
He's great.
Pretty hot vampire in my day, I think. Lost Boys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in a movie called Rush, which was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Is that the one where he's undercover, or is that?
Yep, that's when he's undercover in the heroin addict.
Yeah,
so good. That was like a pivotal moment for that movie. That was great.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Sleeper hit.
Yes.
Yeah, but come over to the low budget action side and you can
I'd be so down.
run around and
We'll
kill
write the
zombies
scripts.
and shoot AKs and wear crop tops and tight
That's
jeans.
the dream.
Yeah.
Well, the weird,
You're always a winner.
the weirdest part of that whole thing was actually when I was doing ADR for it. For like
Oh
2 weeks
yeah.
ago. And I did it like from home, which is the first time I'd ever done that, by the way. But I'm doing these scenes where I'm like screaming, and I'm just in my closet.
Sure, your neighbors.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I really hope that like, some mental health providers and like knock on my door. My neighbors are calling. I'm literally in my closet, just going like, just like screaming, and it was like I was so uncomfortable, but I was just,
Did they send you a setup, or what did you do?
No, they just sent me the beats, and then I just did it with like when I audition, I have this like lav mic that I put on. I
You
just
did it
hook up
with
to
that?
the phone, yeah, and
Up
they
to
were
the
like,
phone?
yeah,
What?
Really?
And that was cool for them?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I haven't heard anything since I sent them
Technology,
in. So I'm
man.
Yes, in their posts, they can just
Yeah,
I
like
know. Yeah.
spruce it up.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we're gonna have to leave the house ever.
I know we're gonna shoot all our movies from home.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Jeez.
be, it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, but like I remember one time I was recording a video game and it's like, okay, now there were, different levels of when you get hit and when you're going to die. And they were like, okay, now you're like really in pain. And you're like, ugh. And the guy's like, you kind of sound like you're eating a chocolate cake and it's really delicious. That's not going to work. Let's try again. It's like,
Interesting note.
you're just like,
See, I wasn't going for the chocolate cake.
yeah,
eating
all
that,
these
but-
different levels of
Well, there's
like,
there's a lot of stuff you have to do that's just
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh my god, acting is such a strange.
It's so weird.
I remember I've done some where it was for like sexual scenes
Yeah.
where we had to like do, and I just remember I'm making out with my hand and like
no.
it's just like I'd literally turn back to the producer. I'd be like, the acting sucks sometimes. It's like so awkward.
No.
Because acting is, I love acting, but it is an absurd.
It's absurd.
Like for people, if you're watching it like behind the scenes of, like I'll never forget. This is Christian Bale, one of my favorite actors ever. But like, there's a scene behind the scenes where he's on Terminator Salvation, and like he's just like fighting people dressed up in like green block suits.
Yes.
And it's like it's a testament to how good he is, where he can pull that off. But like that looks absurd when you're doing it, And it's always just like, I don't know, watching it from like a third person perspective. It's always a strange thing.
Super
Like,
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh, I remember we were doing The Exorcist and they were in the chairs and they were possessed, and it's just like so
This looks
bizarre.
it looks
you
so
have to-
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girls did great, but but
Yeah.
it's just what the best part is cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like okay, hey, can I get one of those cookies?
Yeah. Well, so there's a picture behind the scenes of it where who's the who's the one who plays Pennywise? I'm blanking on his. He's one of the Skarsgårds, but
Oh yeah.
it's like him talking to Bill Hader like in his Pennywise costume. And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
that just perfectly encapsulates like what
Yeah.
acting is. It's just like such a weird. You're totally living in two different worlds.
Yep.
Like, it's what I love about it. But it's
No, I remember like always at like Arts and Labor too. They'd be like, "What's today?" I'm like, "Today's Pirate Day. It's all pirates all day."
All pirates all day.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. So how are you liking being back in Austin? And is it working well? Like in where you're at in the industry?
Yeah. No, I love Austin. It's kind of that perfect balance of like, I'm not too far from home, but I'm in like a different, it's
Yeah.
like very much its own city, kind of distinct identity. But yeah, I love it. And there's a film community here that I'm very familiar with, just having done Hellion, whereas like LA, it was like, I still knew people, but it wasn't quite the same. But yeah, it's working. I mean, it's all still just been self-tape for the most part. I did a movie with Richard Linklater. That was the only one where I'd actually like been in the room and did it at their little
Was
studio.
that for Hitman or which one?
It was Apollo 10 and a half.
Okay,
It was on Netflix.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was great.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He was super cool. It was very just like low-key, relaxed atmosphere, which I wasn't expecting, because Linklater is one of those guys who's like a big name, but he's still an indie.
Yeah.
He treats himself like an indie director.
Yeah, his whole world's still indie.
Yeah, which is really cool. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. He tends to create an environment that's like still has that indie vibe to it, which is great.
Cat's back too.
Yeah. Oh wait, she's back in Austin?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Permanently?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I know she was
Good
thinking
to know.
about it.
If I outed your location, Cat,
Her
all my
address is
apologies.
14104.
we can bleep that part out.
So when you're breaking down a script, are you mostly doing it just by instinct because you're having no sort of technique? So like crafting your performance, how are you going about that? Like when you're
Yeah, it's kind of evolved over the years. But yeah, it is just instinct and just kind of just doing it over and over. And it kind of like becomes different every time you do it. And then it's weird because I feel like there's two different stages of it, where there's the stage where I'm just prepping myself and I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on it and it can flow naturally, and you kind of put your own little spins on dialogue just to make it like come off, like roll off the tongue easier. And then there's that shift. And then when you're actually doing it with somebody else who they bring something, like we were saying, reacting, it's like they bring something a lot different than when you were like, oh, I wasn't reading it like that in my head. And so you just kind of instinctively just react.
You got to
off
start
of them.
dancing.
So it's-
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like a
Good.
tale of two processes, but it's
Good for you for recognizing to let go of whatever idea or plan you have and be like, okay, this is it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let me just trust my instincts. I mean, that's what I felt like when I've worked with you, is just like you really were really good about just trusting your instincts. And it seems like that's just a natural ability that you have.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know any other way to like play it. It's just like just being like, oh, how would I react to this if I was this character? And you just go off of that.
Yeah.
What do you think about directing? Like, do you still
Yeah. I
think
still
you
wanna do
might
that at
want
some
to
Yeah.
shift into that? Is it just the directing part of it, or do you have any ideas for story? And
Yeah, writing and directing. Me and my brother actually write stuff
Oh, you do?
together. So we're hoping to like get that going at some point. But it's still very early days, but yeah, like writing, directing, and we have a short that we're kind of trying to get together. But yeah, hopefully that's a part of the future. Because that was, like I said, like the initial thing I wanted to
yeah,
do.
that's
Granted,
what I was
when I was, like,
wondering,
10,
if you were still like, if that might be in the future,
Yeah,
headed in
I
that
hope so.
direction.
That would be cool. It'd be totally different. Because like I said, like when I did the videos, I wanted to be a director. And then even just doing Hellion, I was like, oh, being a director looks really stressful.
Yeah,
I was like, it's more than my YouTube videos with my friends. Granted, I was like 13 at the time, but I don't know. I do want to do it at some point. It'd be a lot of fun, but we'll see.
What did you think of that whole Hellion experience when you were?
It was amazing. I mean, I always tell people, like, I've been on most things I've done have been great. There's also been some shoots I've had that, vary between sucking and being fine. But like, I got really lucky working with Kat for the very first thing. She's so awesome and just had such a relaxed demeanor and like created, because when you're the director, you're dictating the vibe of the set essentially, unless you're like her and Aaron were the ones who really were going to decide what kind of shoot it was going to be. And they were both so cool and like no ego. And I don't know, it was just such a great time.
Yeah, I mean, you got lucky too. It's just such a great time in Austin and Austin film and the community that was here.
Yeah.
Like you got tapped into a great group of people, Kelly and Kat. And
I know, it's such a tight group and everyone's so cool and down to earth. But yeah, I mean, if I did Hellion and it, some director who was a dick, then like I probably wouldn't have kept acting.
Right.
You know? So.
And you went to Sundance with it?
Yeah. That was such an awesome experience. It was just such a fish out of water.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Aren't you thinking, you're like, well, what the hell?
I had no idea what to expect, honestly. Like, I remember Aaron was talking to me when it got accepted, and he was like, oh, dude, you're going to get so much free shit. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'll get some like pencils and like a t-shirt. And I was like, oh no, I was getting like free, like I got like a Wii U and like a drone for some reason. Back when you couldn't get a drone for $10 at every gas station, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, what the, like, it was so not.
They like take you through the gifting suite.
Yeah.
You're like standing there holding all these
I got, like,
products
a
and they
bunch of
take
clothes
pictures
and, like,
with you.
I'm just this goofy kid from tech. I was just like,
You got a bike.
yeah.
You had to rent a U-Haul to get home.
Yeah. Well, I think we got stopped at the airport because of that drone.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like if it happened now, I think everyone knows what a drone is.
Not scared of it. Yeah.
In 2014, it was very much like new kind of tech. So they like stopped it and they saw the X-ray. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Oh
like,
my God. When we were there in 2010, there was a secret party for, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a house. They were having a party. There was vapes and it was like, weed vapes or whatever. Like at the time, I don't know, the kids all call it something different now. My mom, Harper's like, you're not cool. And so we were like, somebody was like, come with us. And we all got in this car and they took us to this house. And it was like, what? This is like a secret party with like electric vapes of like weed. And it was like, what? And it was like, we all got to take one home and everything. And it was like, we thought we were all cool.
That's pretty, I didn't even know they had those back then.
Yes.
2010s?
Yeah, that was like when they first
did.
came out.
First
that
ones
was
ever.
the whole big launch of them.
Yeah.
It was like,
no, at Sundance, it was incredible. I remember whenever, so like on the way there, we missed our flight. And so we had to get like a connecting flight in Denver. And we showed up like right before the premiere.
Oh,
It was
God.
like when we were landing. And so I remember,
stressful.
oh my God. I remember just on the way there, I had to like change in a gas station bathroom, like on the way to the premiere and like to like washing my pits in the sink and just like trying to throw something together. And then went from that to like, I think it was just straight to the premiere.
Red carpet.
Yeah. So it was just such a whirlwind of.
It's amazing how all those things happen. Like I think our director broke his ankle. Like he was in like an air cast or whatever.
So when you got back and it settled down, were you just sort of like, what is life? Or like how, I mean, how have you, because child actors, it can be rough for them. So how do you feel like you've been able to adjust? So I don't know your secrets and your skeletons in your closet, but you seem like a pretty well-adjusted, normal human being.
For the most part, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Like it's weird because I fixate on the past a lot, but I also have this thing where like I'll experience something and then it just kind of like, okay, that was the experience. And then now it's like back to normal kind of thing. So like whenever I did Sundance, it was such like a crazy experience, but I went back and I was just like, all right, like that happened. Like time to like,
So in your brain, let me see if I get this right. In your brain, there's normal life and then there's this weird thing that you do.
Yeah.
So you go do the thing.
Right.
I always say like we're carnival workers, right? We set up the trucks and we do the thing and then we leave and then we go back to this normal existence.
Yeah.
And so you're able to still to this day kind of position those two and not get absorbed with the business or the obsession over like, when am I working? Because you always had this sort of like natural calmness that comes off of you that isn't like there's a trust that you have. You're like, it's going to be all right.
I'm actually very much the opposite when it comes to like,
so it doesn't
going to
come
work
out
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I freak out all the time about like,
really?
if I'm ever going to get a role again, because it's like, it's such a like fickle industry where you just never know. So yeah, I think I always come off much more calm on the outside than I am
you are on the inside?
On the inside. I'm very good at faking it, I've realized. But yeah.
Just your demeanor is that way. Because I've always like checked in with you and I'm like, oh, he's doing good.
Yeah.
Maybe we should check in with him more.
I think so. Yeah. I just told him I was making catch list today.
Maybe we should push a little deeper.
I push for everybody. I will. Yeah, that's good for people to know too, though. And I've talked to several stars, and there's several famous stories of guys that have been like, "Am I ever going to work again?"
Yeah. I know, and it's weird. Like there's people who, I mean, I think part of it too is that I don't really talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Like I very much have I just have the same friends that I had since middle school, and I live a pretty my day-to-day life is really boring. So like I don't have like any I don't live in Hollywood with like Hollywood friends, and like I'm only in that industry when I'm working.
Yeah.
So it's like it just very much feels like I have my life, and then this is like a thing that
It's like a side hustle.
Yeah. A side hustle that is also I'm completely dependent on to make money. But yeah.
I think that's actually kind of key in a way.
What's that?
I don't know. You kind of keep it like, sometimes I feel the best when I keep it like over here, where it's not like, I like it better when I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like whenever something's like coming out or something's, going to be a thing, I don't put it on Facebook. I don't tell everybody. And it's like, I kind of feel guilty about it for the thing. It's not that I don't want to support the thing, but like, I don't know. I like it to just do what it's going to do. And I don't like to make a big deal out of it as a way it's like a protective thing for me for some reason. Like my mom and everyone, they want to like get all big about it and stuff, and for me, it feels like some sort of protective mechanism for me, I guess. Because if I get all excited about it and then when it's over and then it's like, I'm like over here by myself and the candles are all burned out and the party's over and it's just me and my balloon and I'm like, I don't know. I guess if I just
agree.
Sort of let it live its own life, then I'm happy to like celebrate it from the side for some reason. I don't know how to describe that really.
Well, I think what it is because I'm the same way. I think what it is it's kind of this subconscious thing of like, don't let the highs get too high because then the lows are going to feel really low.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of keeping yourself on that like even steady track of like, okay, this is cool. This is a cool thing that I do. And this is like a cool experience, but like, just know that it's, it's not, it could be fleeting. It could be. And so like,
or it's also kind of like, I rode it. Like I rode in the ride. And then I don't want to like sit in the theater and then like ride the ride. And then like, and then it's over. And then it's like, you're kind of like a drug addict, and then it's over. And then you got the bends and you're like, like you're a detox.
There's
and you're
a
like
3-week cycle. The week before, the week during, and the week after. And then people care about it. Then after that, nobody cares about it.
And then you're just fucking like, and then you're like.
And you're getting addicted to the wrong things.
Right. Yeah. And so I feel like I rode the ride in it, and then I'm happy to just like have had that experience and then let everyone else have their experience with it. And like I'm just like over here.
Yeah, it's just the business side of it, which destroys the artistic side of it, which is wanting to manipulate you guys to market it better.
And I don't.
Yeah, and use you guys to, use whatever popularity you have or whatever extension you have on social media to like maximize the awareness of it, which I always find so funny. We're doing films and they're always like, don't say anything. And then it comes out. Tell everybody.
Yeah.
I've never been a good self-promoter.
I was looking at your Instagram. You're not. No. Yeah. You're like, you said the last post I think was like, this is just turned into my dog's page.
Yeah, mine was all my kids.
I mean, I think most artists are weirdos, right?
Right.
And like, it's not necessarily your guys' forte to be out there in the you're not like, there's this weird shift to where actors used to always be hidden and they always kept their lives private and they were a mystery. And then it was like the reality star thing happened and now it's like you are the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I think it's better. I think Leo does a good job of keeping himself private for the most part, you know,
Yeah.
and still adheres to that sort of like ideology of like, you don't need to know who I am. You just need to know who my characters are.
Right. And it's like,
But he kind of was sorry not to interrupt, but he was like grandfathered into that too.
For sure.
To where like he was already huge
Right.
before that. So he can kind of afford to get away with that. Where it's
Exactly.
like people now coming up who are in like my position who have worked, but like not, you know, not famous by any means. And it's like they kind of have to like try to promote themselves on social media because that's what
there was this last gen of movie star that just got in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Brad Pitt, George Clooney, they got to be the last movie stars that could just be movie stars. And now everybody else coming in has to be this
product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a whole different game, a whole different thing.
Totally different.
I was gonna do a movie and they were like they were thinking about casting like TikTok people in it. And I was like,
yes.
I was like, guys, I don't know if I can do that if that's going to be the case. Not to like, no disrespect, but like, it's like very clear that that's like what they're, you know.
Their intention is to maximize reach. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, you're on the other side towards.
Yeah, I'm on the other side where
we're
it's
purely art
Yeah,
had to
side,
do
but
that.
it's really
you have to like.
it's really interesting because if you can bring an audience and they can afford to to support you and they support you with their purchase, then you get to do it more, and if you don't get if we can't make the money, then we can't do it, and now it's really getting really hard to make a return of your investment on a traditional independent film. And so do you go, like we have a film that we're working with and she's a legitimate actress, but then she's gone off and done this whole other thing. And it's like, do you release to them privately for 2 weeks? Do you disrupt the distribution model so that you can start making your money back? Because now if it lands on streaming and you're a huge hit, it doesn't make a difference for us, you know?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great that we got that much reception and everyone got to see the movie, but it doesn't support us financially in a lot of ways, especially if that's where it's hitting,
Mm-hmm.
We got to figure out a whole new model, I think.
I know it's in such a weird spot right now.
It is.
We're like,
I really feel like we're all waiting just to jump off a cliff.
yeah.
Like we're all just in this line, just like kind of one by one going, okay, I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
Like we're going to jump.
It's like, even like, I feel like major studios are having trouble.
$8 billion in debt for for their cable services. Like it's like we are there's, I don't know what it is, but it will not be, we're not going back.
Yeah.
It's not going back.
That's why something's got to shift. Something new has to come out.
Mm-hmm. Some
There's
new
to be
model, new version.
new way that we tell stories to people and a new way that people consume human stories.
Yeah, I also believe if a studio puts out, or someone puts out an AI version of a film and it does money and they only made it for 50,000, the studios are going to be all over.
Yeah.
Like I don't see why would they not. They need to, that's their business. Their business.
Yeah.
So
That would be.
John, I just threw up in my mouth a little.
I mean, I just don't know. Like, there's not like they care or they got your best interest. I mean, we've seen that time and time again.
Somebody has to care.
You guys care as the artists, and so I don't know.
We're going to be dead. You're killing us.
I think it's about making your own stuff, like I've said before, and bringing that audience. And that might be to go full circle to bring TikTokers in or people in that can bring a model that allows for the eyeballs that will purchase the stuff. And it might be on Patreon or it might be on a different type of service,
Yes, but that's what I mean. There has to be a new way that we come together as people. And listen, it all started around a campfire. Right? Some dude would tell a story and all the people would listen. And it passes down from human to human and then it becomes songs or it becomes, whatever. This is all of us just telling stories of our generations, of things that we go through, things that we feel that help us live this life, that, make this life, worth a little bit of us feeling things together and understanding what we're all going through. And we have to be able to tell these stories to each other. It's the community of it that's important. And the community of everything's been fractured. Social media tries to make us think that we're all connected. And we're completely not. It's the complete opposite.
That's the thing I think needs to be killed.
That has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Literally. Destroy your fucking social media now. Has to be.
Yeah. It's like we're all connected to fake versions of each other.
Totally, completely. It's not real. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll get rid of phones, and I think we'll get rid of computers, and we're going to move to some other technology, and I think that'll really hurt social media.
Whatever,
because you're not going to have that dopamine cycle is going to change in some way. So
we have to come back together as people. It's just there has to be that communal gathering, and that's what movies were so the pinnacle of. It was the communal gathering for so long. People went to one place and they gathered together and saw one thing. And that was the same thing with music. Was one album was coming out on one day and everyone couldn't wait to go get it. And you would go to one concert and everybody would gather and hear that one thing. And now we don't have these communal gathering one things. It's all fractured. You can get anything you want, anytime, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we're not communing anymore.
Yeah, that's why I said we broke it.
And the movies brought us together in that way.
We broke community. We broke it all. We went too far.
Right.
We just went too far.
And so now we have to find a way to get that back together. And I don't think that means bigger movie theaters with bigger fucking superheroes and bigger fucking movies and bigger fucking budgets. I don't think that means spend more money. I think it means get smaller, get less, get more intimate. And I don't know how that's going to happen, but I think that's what has to happen. And I don't think killing your actors is the way to do it. And I don't think killing your humans and your stories is the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think to sprinkle some positivity onto this.
Please, Josh Wiggins, thanks for being our guest.
I'm going to cry in the car after this. I don't think it's going to change a lot. And the AI thing's going to it is eventually going to change the industry in a big way, but I don't think it's never going to go away. You know, the people making movies themselves, it's always going to be there to some extent, and maybe it's going to be a different playing field, but everybody needs to people need to watch something or listen, same thing with music, whatever. They need to experience something that makes them feel a certain way, or makes them feel oh, I'm not the only one going through this, that they gives them a different perspective on the world, whatever it may be. That's always going to be a thing that people need to experience, and people need to produce and get out of their own thing. So it's probably going to be very different, but it's always going to be there, I think. So
I was listening to a study about depression. It was saying that how sad songs can get people out of depression because they can identify with someone else felt this way. Mm-hmm. And they even if it's just music, they felt this way. And I think that we all need that. We all need to know that we're in this, like you said, community. So
that's right. And that's what actors brought to the thing.
What we come around will be different, but we will still always want to. Yeah. And I think that the quality, hopefully, of actors coming together to make something stands out, right? And that you get the attention because you're not just making some piece of crap sitcom thing. You know, you're making something of quality, which is, I think, the world that we all come from in independent film, and that's what is sort of now we're being admired and we're getting rewarded for our artistry.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what actors brought to the populace, is that we will be the ones who will show you and relay to you how you feel. We will represent your feelings for you so that you can remember, so that you can feel the things that you're not allowed to feel in your daily life, or that you're not letting yourself feel, or that maybe you don't realize you feel.
Yeah.
We will help you. We will be that for you. And, but we need people to we need people to continue to feel and not become robots. Don't let the social media machine
we'll have
kill
robots.
Your spirits.
You'll have robots. You won't need to be a robot.
No, but we need the robots to do our portals for us, not to do our movies for us.
Speaking of promotion, let's get Josh out of here. So when's Armored coming out?
I don't think they have a release date yet, but it should be pretty soon.
I can't wait to see that. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All the gratitude.
If you want to come back when it does come out, we can promote it, and we can do the thing that you don't like to do.
Yeah.
Do the thing that you don't like to do.
Talk about myself.
Yeah.
Yes. It sounds like a Christmas movie. Like Die Hard. Don't you think?
We're going for it.
Could be.
It sounds kind of Die Hardy.
Has there been a trailer or anything come out yet, or no? When'd you finish? When'd you wrap it?
We shot it September. Last September.
Last September?
Yeah.
Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Father, son.
Yeah.
Takes place in Mississippi in the middle of the summer, but
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
For some reason I was picturing urban downtown.
Halloween then.
Halloween.
Yeah. We'll get a holiday theme in there somewhere.
Armor
Yeah.
coming out this Halloween. Thanks, dude.
Thank
y'all.
you so
Thank you.
much for
Yeah,
coming.
It's fun.
Cool.
All right.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.